And this shit crazy how this shit go. Like I know they gon' hate me for being real, but I know they gon' love me for making it through.
So fast forward years later, you get out of prison. What were some of the things that you gained from being in prison?
Perspective. I feel like before I went to prison, I was just hustling. Like I didn't know how to like really evaluate like I do now, or like I did once I got out of prison. Prison taught me how to be calculated. It taught me how to um, think things out before you make the move. I feel like before I went to prison, I was really good at making money, but I wasn't calculating my next moves and evaluating my next moves. I was just hustling. And when I mixed both of them, that's when I felt like I leveled up to another level. Like I feel like when I got out of prison, every move I made was very, very much calculated. And to this day, I think like that. Like I never really just move off impulse. I always like to think things out, and I think that's been a great advantage on you know on my journey.
If you had to choose one for the rest of your life, would you choose making music or would you choose making clothing?
That's tough. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Only for the simple fact that I go through spurts. Like lately, I've been more in tune with like back with the fashion is weird, but I mean, what's cool about having an in-house studio is that and you know this, you can attest to this that when it come, it come. Like when the vibes come, it come. And so to answer your question, I can't really choose one or the other. I feel like they both. We gotta have a threesome.
I knew you was gonna say something like that. You was gonna end it off with a bang now. Okay. So what's a pro and a con of staying independent?
I mean, well, first things first. The pro is your freedom. I mean, being independent, you get to move how you want. You get to dictate your future, and the sky's the limit. I feel like when you don't have your freedom, you can't really dictate your future. It's always in somebody else's hands on how far you can go. And so, that's always, prison. That's another thing prison taught me is that prison left a bad taste in my mouth, but for a good reason. Because, one thing that I didn't really enjoy about prison is I used to hate when like it'd be like 4 in the morning and they'd be like count time, wake up, turn around, put your face on your bunk, look down, like, and that would happen every morning, and I felt like just having that control over me and me having to do that, I never, I never thought before I went to prison like how important your freedom is, and so that stuck with me. So, you know, as me being a artist and a creative, that's one thing that I feel like I create for is to guard my freedom. Like that's if I can't have my freedom, then I feel like I wouldn't be able to be me. And so it's pros and cons because a con to it is that you always got to back your own. You got to back your dream. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to fund your dream. You got to be able to, be very very creative enough to even make the money to fund these ideas. But I feel like God too. Another thing about it is like that it tests your faith, and I feel like man, one thing about what we built together is that to be able to do this for 12 years, that's a lot of faith, and to be able to do it at the levels we done it, like we done had retail stores, we done had mobile trucks, Like we done it, like you know what I'm saying, and you know this is way before the pandemic. You know what I'm saying. This is 2011. You know what I'm saying. So and you know, and not only that, like the support, like you know, everything's been organic. There's haven't been no GMO, no steroid shots. Everything's been like this is hot. I want to fuck with this organically, and so you know, I couldn't thank God, you know, enough for the journey because I feel like I'm still in that mode. You know what I'm saying, and I feel like He's just using me to showcase it could be done. It take a lot, this shit we make it look easy, but you know it's not easy. But at the same time, like my nigga in prison used to always say, man, never let them see you sweat. Don't panic. And you know that's one thing I feel like I don't do. Like I just like I'm MJ. Like I'm ready for the shot. Like I'm ready for the moment at all times. Like, and, you know we've been blessed.
So where do you see fashion in like 5 years?
Tough. I mean, shit is different right now. Like fashion is like I don't know. Like I feel like the independent artists for sure we got more leverage than ever because all these household brands. I feel like we starting to understand that we the culture, you know. And so with that being said, I feel like fashion is in a it's in a definitely in a reset place right now where it's like you got all these new designer and artists that's really getting in tune and like tapping into themselves and creating all these new things. And then you got the big brands that's been here forever that like we starting to understand that they just been leveraging off the artists.
Yep, stealing.
Stealing, you feel me? And I feel like the duality with that is like what a time to be alive to see that. Because, you know, for ages we haven't really been getting our just due. A lot of the artists and creators, you know, the big brands would literally, you know what I'm saying, Mega Man, the artists, like literally take whatever they was making that was hot and put it on a bigger scale and then they'll produce it. And the artist that's really been in, you know, that's been in the lab cooking up and, you know what I'm saying, that they don't never really get their just due. So it's interesting, man. I feel like we just really living in some interesting times because the information is out there, like, you know, and we getting it and we understanding, like, we just got to be aware. Our third eye got to stay open. We got to know, like, we that before they know that we that. Because once they know that we that, they coming. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got to know yourself. You got to really believe in what you're doing. You got to stay in tune. You got to be confident. You know what I'm saying? You got to be witty. You got to be savvy. You got to love this shit. You got to be passionate. And you got to stand on some integrity. Like, if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. Like, I think that's one thing what Urban Trademark represents is that we stand for something. Like, it's been integrity the whole ride, the whole wave. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's one thing that when you bring up the brand, that's the frequency. That's what niggas is saying. Like, nah, they in tune over there. Like, they don't. It's all love, but it's like he in tune, they in tune, she in tune, the family in tune. You feel me? And so I think that's what when people see the brand, that's the aura. It's what they buying.
Family, community,
Community culture, like you know what I'm saying, like
a movement.
a movement, like the truck. Come on now, it's like that's culture at its finest. And so it's like that's I feel like that's what we represent, you know. And I say we, and when I mean we, I mean it. Like as a collective, like that's what we represent. You know what I'm saying? And so fashion is in a good place. It's interesting. It's broad. I feel like, you know, you could find what's crazy about it is this too. It's in it right now. Everybody's going back to baggy. Everybody wearing a little bit more baggier clothes. I'm starting to see that trend come back. But what's cool about it is that so many groups know they self that even though we see that's coming back as a trend, you could see the pockets of not following that trend. You still see niggas over here on this. You still see niggas over here on this. To oppose, I feel like back in the day, we were so programmed to just follow the trends that we was all looking the same. That now it's like we all got our own personality. And that's what's dope about the game is that, you know, it's more trendsetters than ever. And that's what it, you know, that's culture. That's what it's about.
Yeah, there's levels to this shit. In this game, I'm a vet. Came in this game with some money and an image.